Hi guys, a super duper quick intro this time around. I'm preparing the material for the school. There are just few spots left for this first basically class that is starting on the 16th, the week of the 16th, so you still have time. You can contact me if you need to arrange some payment schedule. So my basically email and the website is below in the description. And also the next basically school term is going to be May the 15th. So maybe you kind of like want to target for the next kind of entry, which kind of could be better. So thank you so much for being here for me. I would highly appreciate if you like and subscribe and share. That means a lot to me. And also please follow me on Instagram and Facebook, because there I kind of have the tidbits about tarot. On Facebook you also have daily tarot, so that's something to look at. And lastly, join me for my live sessions. So for that you need to be a subscriber to be notified so you know when it is. And that's it. Talk to you next month. Love you. Hi Geminis, welcome to your bi-monthly Lenormand. So that will be middle of April to mid of June. So this is a general reading, so I have two significators, the lady and the gentleman. They are interchangeable. So what I'll be doing, I'm going to give you several storylines, and just understand general means that I'm picking up an energy of on many of you. So to get your private reading, please kind of like do that via my website. And if your private reading you want me to use Lenormand, then just mention it in the notes. So let me tell you what I see over here. The first card that opened up was the Crossroads. So there is like some, mind you, Gemini, you always are at some kind of crossroads, kind of like wondering in which direction to go. Maybe you have already kind of like baked one idea, and because of the Mercury retrograde, now you're wondering, you're reassessing, is this a good and best place to go? And it is kind of interesting because it is right here above the lady, right? And the clouds. It is the mountain always represents some challenges and difficulties, right? And it is kind of really difficult to make decision given that maybe you are faced with so many different circumstances that are basically happening in the process, right? This also can talk about dual life or somebody leading dual life, right? It could be uncertain time for some of you in a relationship because you have the snake right next to you here. And that snake is, look at this, you have the mountain, the book, the snake, and the clouds. Holy smoke, it almost feels like that some of you will be just tapping in the dark. Some of you will kind of like not really know what is true, what is not true. And the only positive card, which is the moon, it's not the same as in tarot. it's in the house of the skies, which is some kind of like sharp cutting or possible illness. But in your case, I think it's going to be finding out about somebody who is undermining your efforts, because the snake is in the house of the book and the book is in the house of a dog. So somebody is going to get literally in a dog house. I guess that's what I would say to start, right? Another thing is like the whip is in the house of the whip. So whip is generally talking about arguments and aggravations, and I can see that being stopped. Like there are like two blockages over here. And some of you, for those of you who are single, you might be actually meeting somebody at work, or you already have somebody at work who kind of like you like, or it could be somebody also who lives in a high rise or works in the government that also is all kind of positioned to be a possibility of a meeting this new person. It could be something like very hot kind of relationship where you kind of like have this immediate attraction and kind of like you jump, somebody's bones right off the bat. But I kind of like are suspicious about the longevity of this. It almost looks like it's going to restart, it's going to be super hot and sexy, it's going to die down again, and then kind of like possibly revisit. You are probably dealing with a karmic relationship here, guys, because the cross is right next to the gentleman, which is a second significator over here. So the gentleman is in the house of the cross. And this is talking about faith, but it's also talking about hardship and something that needs to finish, right? So now this gentleman is coming right next to the child, which is in the house of the lilies, which is over here. You see, it's also for some of you, reunion might be offered, but it will be rejected. Right? Because you see the sky is cutting these lilies. So kind of like it's going to be hard maybe going back, and plus we have the coffin right next to the heart. It almost sounds to me that maybe there is like a motion of moving on, because the mice is in the house of the heart, right? So and the heart is in the house of a child. So definitely child does mean something from the past. Child could mean a new relationship. So some of you might actually start with a new relationship, that it could be even overseas. This is the house of the sun, which is also right here. Actually, I'm just seeing it right now. Holy smoke. Some of you will literally slip out of a relationship that is very hard, that it feels like you cannot go forward. It kind of like it goes one step forward, 3 steps behind. But other than the mice, which kind of talks about some issues with trust, and maybe this is kind of based on the past relationship, but I also see the ship, the ring, the sun, and the bear. Kind of like almost looks like maybe even marriage, because the ring is knighting the heart over here. So maybe somebody's waiting for divorce to get married. That can be seen that way as well. And the others of you might be on the second part of that equation, kind of like really wondering what basically happened, and really wondering and trying to resolve in your own head how to put things together for you to be able to understand, right? I definitely see that more or less the gentlemen are possibly kind of like going to kind of like feel like more willing to be grounded in the situation. But ladies are going to kind of like really have the loyalty to the family more than anything else. So it's kind of like both people have the same agenda. So it's kind of like I'm wondering if two people have the same agenda and both of them want to dedicate to the family and want to move these things forward. And why in the world are all these kind of like cards happening across the sky, the coffin, around the crucial cards? So it's telling me that it might not work out because probably of all these issues that have happened. You know, sometimes we have good faith that we want to move forward. And you can only move forward, especially if there was some kind of cheating or mistrust, only if the other partner shows uttermost transparency, right? If this is not the case, you are kind of continuing to be suspicious and continuing to generate this negative energy, maybe continuing to kind of argue because you're kind of meeting in the sky with this person, and this kind of like is it. This is the only card where you meet, and actually the lilies and the birds. So maybe one person is going to be saying, well, you know, this is all gossip, none of that is true, right? You're not convinced. Somebody's not convinced in the situation. It's kind of really interesting here that we have the letter and the stars, which are really strong communication cards over here. And it's going to be about, look, I need to know where the hell I stand. And I need to know who is this person. I need to know the effect of this person, because that's that secret. Something is being hidden. Whether this is like person who is secret or a situation that is being kind of like kept away from you. On a really good note, my dear Gemini, your money is going to be spectacular. You have the sun in the house of the bear and bear above the to boot. So if you're asking about a new job, you might get this new job. You might not be super happy with it. It might have issues that you don't like, but altogether, I would say you will be about 90% happy about going forward. Don't jump into trusting people too easily, especially if this is at work. This is also really well positioned for the people who work from home and people who are self-employed. So this kind of like is going to be really interesting period. First of all, you guys are ruled by Mercury, and we are going through Mercury retrograde, at least in the period that I'm doing this reading. I'm doing this on April the 11th. And the retrograde, I think, finishes on the 15th, but we still have 3 weeks of shadow before Mercury goes retrograde. So it is one of those things. You're going forward, you're going backward. And sometimes we have to go through this back and forth with a partner a few times before we actually decide on what do you want to do. You guys are an air sign. With air signs, that actually can appear, and you're one of those kind of like breezy air signs. You can appear to be very easygoing, but you are definitely very brainy, where most people don't understand that behind that basically light exterior you're doing lots of thinking. And I can see it here, like, I mean, how do I really want to communicate what is really important for me? And also, arguing is not something that you want to subscribe to. So if something is getting too much, or you feel that the entire relationship is just based on sex, you are not a fire sign. Sex is great, but you can get it elsewhere. You kind of like need the transparency, you need connection, mind to mind, and that's kind of the period where you will be putting your foot down. So my dear Gemini, again, it's a general reading. So if you want your private one, contact me via catterra.ca. And thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe, share, and like. That is kind of like very meaningful to me. And lastly, yeah, the school is, the first round is like starting on the 16th, right after the Mercury retrograde, and the next one will be after the shadow in the middle of May. So please do register, and if you have issues with payment, or you want me to arrange some kind of like payments, just contact me via my email below in description. Thank you so much, love you, and have